Michael's friends noticed how he'd changed around Ace in those final years. The fierce competitor became gentle, patient, tender. He'd help Ace stand when the dog's legs wouldn't cooperate, would hand-feed him when appetite waned, would sit for hours just keeping him company. "I've never seen Michael like this," Scottie Pippen observed. "So soft, but in a good way. Like Ace brought out a part of him that basketball never could." In early 2002, it became clear that Ace was suffering more than he was living. The vet presented the options gently, but Michael knew. He'd always been able to read situations, to know when it was time to make the hard call. This was the hardest call of his life. He chose a sunny April morning at home, in the backyard where they'd spent countless hours together. The mobile vet came prepared, gave Michael as much time as he needed for goodbye. Michael sat on the grass with Ace's head in his lap, stroking the graying muzzle, remembering everything they'd been through together. "Oh, you were the best teammate I ever had," Michael whispered, his voice breaking. "Better than Scottie, better than anyone. You never had a bad game, never let me down, never quit on me. You were there when Dad died. You were there when I didn't know who I was anymore. You were there for everything that mattered." Ace's tail moved weakly, one final acknowledgement, one last moment of connection. "I love you, buddy. I love you so much. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're hurting. It's okay to go now. It's okay to rest." When the vet administered the injection, Michael held Ace close, feeling the moment the dog's breathing stopped, the exact instant when presence became absence. He stayed there for over an hour, just holding him, not ready to let go of the physical form, even though he knew. Ace's spirit had already moved on. They buried Ace on the property, under a large oak tree where the dog used to lie in the shade during summer afternoons. Michael designed the headstone himself, black granite, simple but elegant. Ace Jordan, 1991-2002, loyal, fearless, loved. The grief that followed surprised Michael with its intensity. He'd lost his father, had experienced profound loss before, but losing Ace carved out a hollow space that nothing seemed to fill. This was a different kind of loss, not tragic or sudden, but the loss of a presence that had been constant for over a decade. For weeks, Michael struggled with the emptiness. He'd catch himself looking for Ace in the morning, expecting to see him in his usual spots around the house. The routines that had included Ace now emphasized his absence, the morning coffee without a dog at his feet, the evening relaxation without 130 pounds of Rottweiler sprawled nearby. His children noticed their father's grief and tried to help, but Michael withdrew. This loss felt private, personal in a way that was hard to articulate. How do you explain to people that losing your dog felt as significant as losing a human loved one? That Ace had been more than a pet. He'd been a therapist, a confidant, a mirror reflecting back the parts of Michael that he kept hidden from the world. It was Ahmad Rashad, Michael's close friend, who finally got through to him. He showed up at the house unannounced, found Michael sitting in the backyard near Ace's grave, and just sat down beside him. They sat in silence for a long time before Ahmad spoke. "Ace loved you unconditionally. You know what that means. It means he'd want you to be okay. He'd want you to keep going." Michael nodded slowly. "I know. It's just hard." "Of course it's hard. He was family. But you honor him by living fully, by taking what he gave you and carrying it forward." Slowly, Michael began to process the grief in healthier ways. He started talking about Ace, not avoiding the subject but sharing stories, celebrating the dog's life rather than just mourning his death. He told people about Ace's loyalty during the championship years, about how the dog had been his anchor during his father's death, about the baseball experiment and the comebacks and all, the quiet moments in between. "Ace saw me at my best and my worst," Michael said during a rare interview where the subject came up. "He saw me win championships and lose playoffs. He saw me grieve my father and struggle with retirement. And through all of it, he never judged. He just stayed. That's the purest form of love, to stay when things get hard." In 2003, Michael came out of retirement again, playing 2 seasons with the Washington Wizards. It wasn't the same without Ace there, but Michael carried the lessons the dog had taught him. Show up. Give your best effort. Be loyal to your commitments. Find joy in the work itself rather than just the outcomes. After finally retiring for good in 2003, Michael eventually got another dog, a Rottweiler. He named Ace the Two, not a replacement, there could never be a replacement, but a way of honoring the original, Ace's memory, and continuing the bond between man and breed. Ace too was different, his own personality, his own quirks, but the loyalty was the same. That fundamental Rottweiler trait of complete devotion to their person resonated with Michael in ways he never fully understood but deeply appreciated. Over the years, as Michael built his business empire, bought the Charlotte Hornets, became a billionaire and global icon, he often thought about Ace, about how a dog had been present for the most important transitions of his life, had provided stability when everything else was chaos. In interviews, when asked about his success secrets, Michael would sometimes surprise people by mentioning Ace. My dog taught me more about loyalty and consistency than most people ever learn. He showed up every day, gave his best every day, never had an off day in his commitment to being there. That's championship mentality. Michael established a foundation in Ace's name, supporting animal rescues and promoting Rottweiler adoption, fighting against the breed's negative stereotypes by sharing his own story of how a dangerous dog had been the gentlest, most faithful companion imaginable. People fear Rottweilers because they're powerful, Michael said at a foundation event. But power without loyalty is just aggression. Ace was powerful and loyal. That combination is what made him special. That's what made us work. As Michael grew older, entering his 50s and then 60s, he gained perspective on what Ace had meant to him. The dog had been there during the formation of his legend. Yes, but more importantly, had been there during the moments when the legend was just a man, scared, grieving, uncertain, human. Ace knew Michael Jordan, the icon, Michael reflected years later. But he loved Mike, just Mike. That distinction matters. In a life where everyone wants something from you, where every interaction has an agenda, having a relationship based on nothing but mutual affection and presence, that's precious. That's rare. Michael never forgot the lessons Ace taught him about loyalty, about consistency, about showing up even when it's hard, about finding strength in companionship. These lessons informed how he led teams, how he built businesses, how he approached relationships. The original Ace had been gone for decades, but his impact rippled forward through time in how Michael treated people, in the standards he held himself to, in his understanding that true greatness isn't just about achievements, but about character and relationships. On quiet mornings at his current estate, Michael, now in his 60s, would sometimes sit outside with whatever dog currently shared his life and think about Ace, about championship runs and comebacks, about grief and healing, about a Rottweiler who never left his side through the best and worst of times. You were there for all of it, Michael would whisper to the memory. Every high, every low, every moment that mattered. You saw the real me, the one behind the image. And you loved that guy just as much as you loved the champion. Maybe more. The pet that never left Michael Jordan's side had been more than a companion. Ace had been a teacher, a therapist, a constant in a life of constant change. He'd provided unconditional love to a man the world loved, conditionally for his performance, his achievements, his winning. Ace hadn't cared about rings or records or legacy. He'd cared about Michael, just Michael. And in a life lived in the spotlight, where every action was scrutinized and every relationship seemed transactional, that pure, uncomplicated devotion had been a lifeline. Michael Jordan would be remembered for many things: 6 championships, 5 MVP awards, 10 scoring titles, the greatest basketball player ever. But among his most treasured memories, private, personal, rarely shared, would always be a Rottweiler named Ace, who saw him at his most vulnerable and loved him anyway, who stayed by his side through triumphs and tragedies, who taught him that true loyalty asks for nothing and gives everything. The statue outside the United Center in Chicago shows Michael Jordan in mid-flight, defying gravity, achieving the impossible. But the man himself knew a different truth. His greatest achievements weren't scored on a court. They were built in relationships, with family, with teammates, with friends, and with a dog named Ace who never left his side.